On her birthday, my girlfriend publicly praised her ex for setting a high standard. The crowd cheered. Then she glanced at me and said, "And thanks to him, I suppose." I stayed silent. But 2 days later, she learned the cost of pushing a man too far. The room was packed with strangers, all laughing and sipping wine I'd funded. It was my girlfriend Charlotte's 30th birthday celebration, a glamorous affair she'd meticulously planned for months. The theme was old Hollywood, and she played the starlet role flawlessly. I was merely a prop, ensuring the food stayed plentiful and the champagne never stopped flowing. The night's highlight was her toast. Charlotte stood in the center, glass raised, her voice polished and commanding. Her best friend, Becca, who always eyed me like I was dirt on her heel, stood beside her, glowing with pride. "I want to thank everyone for being here," Charlotte began. "Turning 30 is a major milestone, and I wouldn't be who I am without the incredible people in my life." She listed her loving parents, her loyal friends, then paused for effect, her gaze settling on a charming, smug man near the back. "And a special thank you to my dear friend, Derek," she said, her voice thick with sentiment. "Yes, my ex, but also the man who showed me what I truly deserve. He set the standard for what a partner should be, and I'll always cherish our time together." The room burst into applause. Some whistled, and Derek gave a humble nod. It was a perfect, heartfelt moment, a masterclass in social performance. Then, as the cheers faded, Charlotte's eyes flicked to me by the bar. With a casual wave, she added, "And thanks to him, too, I guess." A few of her friends giggled. The message was sharp and deliberate, delivered like a precision strike in front of 50 guests. Derek was the benchmark. I was an afterthought, not even worthy of a name. I didn't react. I didn't blink. I took a slow sip of my drink, my face neutral. But inside, my mind was already strategizing. A trigger had been pulled. In my world, you don't get emotional when attacked. You get calculated. Charlotte had just launched a public assault on my reputation, thinking it was a clever social maneuver. She didn't realize she'd started a battle with someone who orchestrates victories for a living. I'm a political campaign strategist. My job is to secure wins. I craft narratives for flawed candidates, control messaging, and exploit opponents' weaknesses. My life revolves around strategy, perception, and relentless execution. The election season had just begun, and I don't lose. I met Charlotte 8 months ago, fresh off a grueling Senate campaign that left me exhausted. I was in a personal off-season, needing a break from the high-pressure world of politics. Charlotte was uncomplicated, a beautiful, fun distraction. I knew her type. Funded by a modest trust fund, chasing failed ventures, and obsessed with her ex, Derek, a man of inherited wealth who embodied the effortless success she craved. The red flags were obvious. Her name dropping, her obsession with status, her need for public admiration. But I wasn't looking for forever. I wanted a low-stakes project to recharge. I was upfront. I told her I wasn't after anything serious, just recovering from a demanding job. She agreed. Our deal was clear. I provided the lifestyle she enjoyed, and she offered light, easy company. It was a temporary arrangement. The issue was, she started treating it like a permanent role, and her performance at her birthday party crossed a line. She didn't just insult me. She publicly branded me as lesser. In my world, that's a narrative you crush before it spreads. As the party hummed around me, I didn't feel pain. I felt the thrill of a new campaign. My opponent, the Charlotte-Derek Alliance. My goal, total victory. That night, after the guests left and Charlotte was asleep, I retreated to my office and outlined my strategy. Phase 1. Research a winning campaign begins with deep intelligence. You can't defeat what you don't understand. For 48 hours post-party, I became a one-man research operation, targeting Charlotte and her revered ex, Derek. I started with Charlotte, whose lifestyle I'd largely funded. I combed through bank statements, cataloging every expense, designer outfits, lavish dinners with Becca, spa treatments, weekend getaways. I wasn't just tracking money. I was mapping her social ecosystem, her benefactor, me, her allies, her shallow friends, and her brand, a facade of effortless luxury. Next, I turned to Derek, the phantom in our relationship, the ideal she measured me against. His public persona was impeccable. Tech startup founder, vintage car owner, a social media feed curated to perfection. But I know polished images hide flaws. I hired a digital investigator I use for political opposition research, tasking him with uncovering Derek's financial and professional reality. Nothing illegal, just facts. While the investigator worked, I launched Phase 1, Narrative Disruption. Charlotte, oblivious, thought I was just moody about her party slight. The next day, she tried to smooth things over. "You were so quiet last night," she pouted. "You didn't even compliment my dress." I said I was tired, letting her think her jab had put me on the defensive. My first move was subtle. Charlotte's social standing leaned heavily on her role in a prestigious charity gala committee. She did no real work, but loved the title. Months earlier, I'd made a hefty donation to the charity in my name, which she bragged about constantly. I called the committee chair, a professional contact, and explained that due to financial adjustments, I had to withdraw my donation. I was polite, vague, and apologetic. I knew the chair would call Charlotte to ask about her generous boyfriend. The fallout was swift. That evening, Charlotte confronted me, furious. "What did you do?" she demanded. "Cynthia from the committee called. She said you pulled your donation. You're embarrassing me." I stayed calm. "It's a financial decision, Charlotte. Markets shift, and I'm reallocating resources." "This isn't about money," she screamed. "This is about my reputation. You're punishing me for the party." "What you said at the party was just information," I replied, meeting her eyes. "It helped me reassess my investments. The gala's not a good return." This was deliberate. I spoke in terms of status and social capital, her currency. I'd just devalued her biggest asset. Meanwhile, my investigator delivered. Derek's startup, Innovate Next, was a house of cards. No product, no revenue, burning through cash. Its funding came from his father's wealthy friends and high-interest loans. Derek wasn't a visionary. He was a trust fund kid playing CEO. His prize vintage car? A leased status symbol, co-signed by his father, with payments 2 months overdue. His flawless image was a lie, and I was ready to expose it. Phase 2. Weaponizing the narrative. Raw data isn't enough. You need a story that resonates. My audience wasn't the public, but the elite circle of investors and socialites Charlotte and Derek relied on. Using an anonymous email, I crafted a memo styled like an investor's report, titled Due Diligence, Innovate Next. It detailed the company's dire finances, lack of product, and projected insolvency within 6 months. No accusations, just facts, backed by public records of Derek's history of failed ventures, quietly bailed out by his father. I sent it to 3 people: Derek's father, his company's lead investor, a ruthless businessman, and a local business reporter who loved exposing flops. Simultaneously, I targeted Charlotte's support system. Becca, her closest ally, worked as a personal shopper at a luxury store, relying on her reputation and client base. I knew she borrowed clothes for weekends, returning them Monday, a shady practice she extended to Charlotte, using her employee discount for outfits Charlotte wore once for social media, then returned. I made an anonymous call to the store's loss prevention hotline, reporting an employee running a return fraud scheme. I named Becca and suggested they check security footage and inventory logs for high-value items returned on Mondays. The results unfolded perfectly. The reporter published a scathing piece on Innovate Next, calling it a millennial pipe dream. The lead investor, furious, pulled funding and threatened legal action. Derek's father, publicly shamed, cut him off. Derek, desperate, called Charlotte for support, but she was unraveling. Becca had been fired after the store found evidence of her fraud. She blamed Charlotte, claiming Charlotte pressured her. Their friendship collapsed into mutual accusations. Charlotte's world crumbled. Her social status, her best friend, her idolized ex, all gone. She still didn't suspect my role. A week after Derek's downfall, she came to me, sobbing. "Everything's falling apart," she cried. Derek had cut contact, Becca was threatening lawsuits, and her social circle had abandoned her. "It's like the universe is against me," she said. "Just market fluctuations," I replied coolly. "Can I stay here for a bit? I have nowhere else to go." "No," I said. "Our agreement's over. Time to move on." I handed her a box of her belongings. "I packed for you." Final update: a month after launching my campaign, the results were decisive, a total victory. Charlotte had a breakdown after I asked her to leave. With no money, no allies, and no prospects, she moved back with her parents, who were grappling with their own fallout from Derek's collapse. She tried to paint me as a heartless villain, But her ruined social circle had no influence, and I controlled the story. I gave an off-the-record interview to the same reporter who exposed Derek, framing myself as a private man targeted by social climbers, only to uncover their deceit. I didn't name Charlotte, but the details were unmistakable. The story cast me as the savvy victim, neutralizing her attacks. 2 days later, Charlotte showed up at my door, broken, begging me to take her back. "I messed up," she sobbed. I let her speak, then said, "You didn't mess up, Charlotte. You ran a terrible campaign. Your strategy was weak, your allies unreliable, and you picked the wrong opponent." Her eyes widened with realization. "This was you," she whispered. "Derek, Becca, the story, it was all you." "I run campaigns," I said coldly. "You attacked my reputation. I saw it as a contribution to my strategy and launched a counteroffensive. You thought we were in a relationship. We were in a race, and I never lose." I closed the door. That was the last I saw of her. I heard she's now a receptionist at a dental office, her trust fund depleted. Derek faces lawsuits from investors, and Becca's dealing with legal fallout from her fraud. My revenge wasn't loud or emotional. It was strategic, using the tools of my trade. Charlotte saw me as a dull provider, a minor player in her glamorous story. She didn't realize the quiet man in the background was orchestrating the entire show. She thought she was the star. She was just the opposition.